Hey everyone, my name is Iasmina and welcome back to my channel. Today I have another wrap-up video for you, actually a bit sooner than I thought. It's only been like maybe a month and a bit since my last one. But anyway, I have about 6 books to talk about today. So I'll just make some quick reviews of all of them, and I think today I will put them in order of from least liked, so from my least favorite to my most favorite that I've read recently. So the first book I'm going to talk about is Ouran High School Host Club Volume 1 by Bisco Hattori. So this is about a group of kids in high school at this sort of rich people's school where they have this host club where the girls from high school can pay a fee to go and spend some time with these boys. Yeah, it sounds worse than it actually is. You know, it's not like that, it's just to have some companionship and just to talk to the guys. But the main character in this, she's a girl and she accidentally breaks a vase, like a very, very expensive vase from this host club, and so they were like, okay, well, you don't have the money to pay us back, and so you will work as a member of this host club to try and repay that debt. And she disguises herself as a guy and things like that. I actually saw the anime of this years and years ago. I saw the first couple of episodes. And I remember the anime was pretty funny and pretty entertaining, but reading this was really difficult. It was so chaotic. I felt like there were so many things happening at the same time, and it was very confusing to keep track of who was who and who was talking and what was happening. And maybe in this case the anime just works better. Maybe the story just works better in anime form rather than manga. I don't know. Tell me what you guys think if you've read the series. Tell me if it gets better and a bit less confusing to read. Otherwise I might just watch the anime, and that's still a way to consume the story, so you know. The next book I have here is also in graphic form, and that is Giant Days, Volume 1 by John Allison and Lisa Treeman. So Giant Days is about a group of freshman college students. I mean, we follow the many trials and tribulations of being in college, and that's really the thing that I liked most about this, is that setting. I really enjoy stories set in college because there's not that many of them, and I don't know, obviously maybe it's also because I'm a bit older and I feel like I connect more with characters who are this age than necessarily like high school kids. This is what the art looks like. It's very cute and whimsical, and the characters are really good. I think the thing I enjoyed the most, apart from the setting, is definitely the characters. I just feel like not so much happened in this. I mean, it is basically just a slice of life kind of story, so you know, I shouldn't be too harsh on it, but I'm definitely going to continue on with the series and see what these characters do next, because I really, really enjoyed it. And also, I actually drew the cover of the graphic novel just for fun, because I don't know, I was bored and I liked the art style. So, you know, it's not great, but it exists. It is a thing. Okay, I'm learning, guys. I'm trying and I'm learning. Next is a short little classic that I read around Christmas time, and that is A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. I don't really know if I need to say much about this. I'm sure you're all familiar with the story. It was everything I expected it to be. It's a classic. It's really nice to read, and I do actually really enjoy Charles Dickens' writing. I think it's good. I like it. I definitely want to read more Charles Dickens. So if you have any recommendations for some Charles Dickens that, I don't know, maybe isn't 1,000 pages long, but it's still really good, because I know he used to be paid by the word, and actually this is not a representation of that because this is very short, but I know most of his work is very, very long. But if you have any recommendations for some shorter but still great Charles Dickens, leave them in the comments below and I will check them out. But yeah, I enjoyed this. It was the perfect little thing to read around the Christmas tree. We're at the pile of books that have been my favorite recently, and actually, I mean, I love these books that I'm gonna show you, so these have become some of my new favorites, and yeah, let's just talk about them. So the first one is a non-fiction book, and that is Nothing to Envy, Real Lives in North Korea by Barbara Demick. So last year I read In Order to Live by Yeonmi Park, and that was also about North Korea, and specifically about the author escaping from North Korea and about her life in North Korea as a child. And I love that book. I raved about it so much on my channel. This is better. This is amazing. This is just... So Barbara Demick is a journalist, and she interviewed a bunch of people that have since escaped from North Korea. So they were living in South Korea at the time she was interviewing them, and all of these people lived in one town, just to get more accuracy of their statements and things like that. So all the people she interviewed were all from the city called Cheongjin, which is way up in the northeast of North Korea. It's here. And yeah, she just tells these people's stories, and they are surprisingly similar and also surprisingly different and expectedly incredibly tragic. If you're interested in the topic of North Korea at all, I think this is the book you need to read, because this is definitely a less biased narration than In Order to Live. I mean, obviously, in this case, she's talking about other people, whereas In Order to Live, you know, the author is talking about herself. But just the amount of research that went into this book and just the way it was handled, it was just handled perfectly. There's also some pictures taken from the people she interviewed. Yeah, 5 out of 5 stars. I don't know what to say. It's one of my favorite nonfiction books, although it's a bit weird to say it's one of my favorite when it's about this kind of topic, but I think it did everything that this type of book should do, and I would highly, highly recommend it if you're at all interested in the topic. Next book is a continuation of a series, and that is In an Opsin Dream by Seanan McGuire, book number 4 in the Wayward Children's series. So this is actually an arc, and this book came out this month, came out January. Just like all the other books in the series, I love it. I love this series. There's just nothing that Seanan McGuire can do wrong. It's just, this was such a cool story, and I don't really want to talk much about it, because obviously if you haven't read the rest of the books in the series, there's no real point in me talking to you about it. But if you haven't read it, and if you like fantasy, read this series. It's so good, and it's so quick to read as well, and I just so highly recommend it. It's so, so good. This is definitely one of my favorites in the series. I think the third one is still probably my favorite, and then possibly the first one, then this, then the second one. Okay, and the last 2 books are definitely, like, hands down my favorite that I've read recently. And first of the pile is Shadow of the Fox by Julie Kagawa. So this is the book that I had really high expectations from, because just everything about it sounded right up my alley. And it was. It did not disappoint. This is amazing. This is like reading an anime. It was so much fun, and all of the Japanese mythology in it was done so well, and I have such vivid scenes from this book. Like, as I was reading them, they were super vivid, and also I just remember so clearly everything that happened in this book. And the only reason why I didn't give it a full 5 stars is because it is the first in a series, and therefore there was some setup. And by that I mean the main character, she's incredible. She has this awesome ability, but because of the plot of the book, she didn't really get to use it much. And that's really the one thing I missed in this book. Her ability is so cool, and yet we rarely get to see it, and she kind of just lets this other character that's with her, you know, take the reins and do all the fighting with his abilities. So basically this story is about 2 characters. One is a fox shapeshifter and one is a samurai assassin, and they both go on this quest to retrieve a part of a scroll. The main character, the fox shapeshifter, she needs to hide her ability for reasons. So that's why she can't use her abilities, because she does not want this other character to find out who she really is because of consequences. I am so excited to continue on with the series. This was fantastic. It was exactly what I wanted from it. If you're into fantasy inspired by Japanese mythology and Japanese culture, this is fantastic. And the last book I want to talk about is my new favorite YA contemporary novel. I have so many feelings regarding this book. That is The Serpent King by Jeff Zentner. So this follows a group of 3 friends in their last year of high school. 2 of them are from very poor families. They don't expect to leave their small town after high school. They just expect to continue on their, you know, shitty manual labor jobs and stay and get married and die in the same town that they were born in. But the third character, the girl, she comes from a more privileged family and she runs a very successful fashion blog and she's very successful on social media, and so she's very excited to move to New York at this sort of fashion university and, you know, have a very, very exciting life and escape her small town. That's pretty much the premise. It's a coming-of-age story and it is beautifully written. It's hard to explain, and I also don't want to give too much away because I didn't know anything going into this and I loved it, and I because of that I think I don't want to spoil anything for you unnecessarily, and I just want you to go into this book and see for yourself whether you like it or not. But I loved it. I don't cry while reading books, and I didn't cry, but I was very, very close. I was very upset in places in this book. I was enthralled and I cared so much for these characters. Like that, I think that's the biggest thing for me when reading a book, is if I can connect with these characters and feel so much for these characters and thus be there, you know, at every point in the plot. That's what makes a book fantastic for me, and this did it. I would really recommend this book if you like reading contemporary. I think this is incredible. And also, as a little thing, again, I like drawing, okay, recently, and so I've been trying to draw more, and if something inspires me to draw, I just do it, and so I drew this tiny little watercolor illustration. It's kind of silly, but I don't know. I just wanted to try it. So yeah, so this is the pile of books that I've read recently. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you've read any of these, do let me know your thoughts on them, or if any of them sound interesting to you and you want to pick them up, do let me know, and also I will leave links to all of them down in the description. And yeah, this was actually a very successful reading month and a half. I've accumulated some new favorites during this period, and so that to me is always a very successful reading month if I find new favorites. So yeah, that was it for me today, guys. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time with a new video.